I do think CMOs have generally been leaders of enterprise transformation historically on lots of different topics. I think digital transformation on many fronts fell to the CMO to galvanize. I won't say singularly lead. And there's no question that it has been a partnership, undoubtedly, with the CIO. But what I would argue is that one has to be very careful in these transformations that are technologically led, not to make it a technology-only driven transformation, because this is so much about consumer or customer centricity. And what can happen in some technology-forward transformations is that it becomes a requirement gathering exercise or a use case prioritization exercise. And when that becomes the lens by which one deploys the technology, we can lose sight of the connectivity of the experience or how that feels to a human or what is truly intuitive. By the way, not only to a customer, but also to an employee, because employees are not going away. We may change the shape of the organization, we may change the shape of the interaction, but humans are not going away in companies. And I do think that humans that are in a CMO role tend to be more intuitive about communication, tend to be more focused on human behavior. And so they're particularly well suited not only to be on the front foot around how technology can be deployed to connect the dots in an organization and in the enterprise, but also how to tell the story so that people understand things in a less siloed way.
When we talk about AI fundamentally transforming marketing and the role of the chief marketing officer in particular, so much of this will pivot on the data that informs the AI. And this, of course, begs the question, how will companies need to manage their data to enable AI and Gen AI agents to give the CMO and everyone in the C-suite, for that matter, a view of the whole company from 30,000 feet to see around corners in the future?
I think that the old view of data transformation was that we had to get it all in one place, we had to get it cleaned up, and make sure that it was capable of being manipulated and used for data and analytics use cases. And I think now with the techniques that we have available to us, with a variety of different things around AI and obviously large language models and small language models and all sorts of different things, there are a new set of issues, and they generally have to do with connectivity, speed, and governance. So I think the big things around data from a technology standpoint generally speak to integration architectures that allow data to connect from one place to another. So it doesn't all necessarily have to be in the same place, but it does need to connect to each other. So again, that's going to have to do with internal connectivity. For example, we were talking before around the notion of paid, owned, and earned silos, or maybe you need to connect it to your commerce infrastructure. All of that may need to connect. When we talk about the agency or the media partners, increasingly that full external ecosystem is going to need to connect. And again, why does it need to connect? Because every single part of that world has an algorithm attached to it. Everyone's got an algorithm. Everyone can optimize. But those algorithms do not necessarily automatically work together. So until you can integrate the architecture and allow things to start talking to each other, the CMO cannot orchestrate anything. And the CIO and the CTO don't necessarily have a point of view independent of the CMO and, frankly, the CFO in terms of what the algorithms need to do in terms of producing a result, an outcome, a KPI. So integration becomes really important. Secondly, acceleration of how quickly the data can connect and move. Third, how quickly you can scale the systems and scale the analytics and the AI. Right now, there are a lot of constraints. AI is amazing, but people are hitting the boundaries of how quickly you can deploy analysis at scale in certain cases and do it safely. So security becomes important, privacy becomes important, making sure things are reliable. And then I think last and probably most importantly, what the frameworks are, what the governance models are to make decisions using AI. What are the boundaries? Because a lot of the conversation we've had so far has really spoken to this nuanced boundary. Where do you snap the line between humans and AI? And so those frameworks and that governance model becomes particularly important. And it's not a static model. It's something you're going to want to keep revisiting. And I think that's not a CMO issue. I don't think it's a C-suite issue. I think that's a board-level conversation. And the sooner that boards of directors start focusing on this opportunity, and this responsibility and the accountability that they have around governing AI-based decisions in the organizations that they have responsibility for, the sooner we are going to make progress. This is not simply a technology issue.